Laozi at once threw his diamond snare down. The gods caught and brought me to the steps of gold. A lengthy confession I need not make. I should be hacked to pieces for my crimes. Axes and mallets could not take my life. Nor was I harmed by scimitars and swords. Fire and thunder could only do so much. They could not hurt longevity's offspring. They sent the captive to Tushita then, to be refined in all ways as they wished. Not till the right time was the tripod opened. But I from the center at once leapt out, my hands holding high the compliant rod. I fought my way to Jade Dragon Terrace. Into hiding went each planet and star. I was free to havoc through heaven's halls. Lord Inspector quickly sought the Buddha's help. With me Sakyamuni a contest waged. I, somersaulting from within his palm, did tour all heavens before turning back. The Buddha deceived me, foreknowing this. I was pinned down by him at heaven's edge. Till now afterwards, some 500 years. My lowly self freed, I frolic once more, to guard the Tang monk going to the west. This, Wukong the pilgrim well understands. He must on the western path the fiends subdue. Which monster would dare not to fear him? When the fiend king heard the announcement of Wukong the pilgrim, he said, "So you're that fellow who caused great disturbance at the celestial palace. If you have been released to accompany the Tang monk to the west, you should simply stay on your journey. Why must you mind someone's business? Why must you serve the Scarlet Purple Kingdom as a slave and come here to look for death? You thief! You lawless fiend!" shouted Pilgrim. "You mouth such words of ignorance. I receive the most reverent invitation from the Scarlet Purple Kingdom, and I am beholden to the king's most gracious hospitality. Old Monkey is regarded there as being 1,000 times more exalted than the throne, who honors me as his parents and reveres me as a god. How dare you mention the word slave? You are but a fiend who lies to heaven and makes a mockery of the ruler. Don't run away. Have a taste of your grandpa's rod." A little flustered, the fiend jumped aside to dodge the blow before wielding the spreading flower axe to strike at his opponent's face. This was a marvelous battle. Take a look. The golden hooped compliant rod. The sharp spreading flower axe. One clenched his teeth as he turned violent. One gritted them as he showed his strength. This one was the great sage, equal to heaven, descending to earth. That one was a mischievous fiend king coming to the world. The two of them belched out cloud and fog to darken heaven. They kicked up rocks and sand to hide the dipper hulls. Back and forth they went through many styles. Up and down they emitted golden lights. Together they used their power, each testing his magic might. This one wanted to take the lady to the capital. That one enjoyed staying with the queen at the mount. This whole battle truly had no other cause. For a king each had life and death forgot. The two of them battled for 50 rounds, but no decision could be reached. When the fiend king saw how powerful Pilgrim was, he knew that he could not prevail against him. Using the axe to stop the iron rod, he said, "Pilgrim's son, let's pause for a moment. I haven't had my breakfast today. Let me take my meal first, and then I'll come to fight to the finish with you." Pilgrim realized that he wanted to get the bells, but he put away his iron rod and said, "A good hunter doesn't run down a tired hare. Go. Go, eat heartily, and return to receive your death." Turning around, the fiend dashed inside and said to the lady, "Take out the treasures quickly." "What for?" she asked. "The person who was shouting to provoke battle this morning," replied the fiend king. "Happened to be the disciple of a priest on his way to acquire scriptures. His name is Sun Wukong the pilgrim, and external grandpa is only a false name. I fought with him for a long time, but I could not prevail against him. Let me take my treasures out there so I can start a fire to burn this ape." The lady was quite dismayed by what she heard. She did not want to take out the bells, but she was afraid to offend him. If she took them out, however, she feared that Pilgrim might lose his life. As she hesitated, the Fiend King again urged her, saying, "Take them out quickly." The lady had no alternative but to open the lock and hand the 3 bells over to the Fiend King, who grabbed them and ran outside the cave. As tears poured down her face, the lady sat down in the palace, wondering whether Pilgrim could escape with his life. Neither she nor the Fiend King, you see, knew that these were specious bells. As soon as he got outside, the Fiend King stood at the upper hand spot of the wind. "Pilgrim's son," he cried out. "Don't run away. Watch me shake my bells a little." With a laugh, Pilgrim replied, "If you have bells, you think I have none. If you can shake them, you think I can't shake them. What sort of bells do you have?" said the Fiend King. "Take them out for me to see." Pilgrim gave his iron rod a pinch to reduce it to the size of an embroidery needle, which he stored in his ear. Then he untied from his waist those 3 true treasures and said to the Fiend King, "Aren't these my purple gold bells?" Greatly startled by what he saw, the Fiend King said to himself, "Odd. Very odd. How could his bells be exactly like mine? Even if they were cast in the same mold, there ought to be some mark here or a blemish there. How could they be exactly alike?" He therefore asked, "Where did your bells come from, worthy nephew?" Said Pilgrim, "Where did yours come from?" An honest person, the Fiend King said right away, "My bells belonged originally to Lord Grand Purity, most steeped in the way. In 8 trigram stove gold, with a long stay, did forge these bells now called perfected gems, and left behind by Laozi till this day." Laughing, Pilgrim said, "Well, the bells of Old Monkey also come from that time. Where did they come from?" asked the Fiend King. Pilgrim said, "In Tushita Hall, the Tao Patriarch hail. Had his stove forged these gold bells without fail? 2 3s are 6 cyclic treasures they are. My bells are female, whereas yours are male. These bells," said the Fiend King, "are treasures forged in the same process as that of the golden elixir. They are not fowl or beasts. How could you use sex to distinguish them? If you can shake something valuable out of them, then they are good treasures. It's useless to talk," replied Pilgrim, "when only action's the proof. I'll let you shake them first." The Fiend King indeed shook the first bell 3 times, but no fire came out. He shook the second bell 3 times, but no smoke came out. And he shook the third bell 3 times, but no sand came out. Terribly flustered, the Fiend King said, "How strange! How strange! The ways of the world have changed. These must be hen-pecked bells. The male sees the female, and that's why nothing comes out." "Stop shaking, worthy nephew," said Pilgrim. "Let me shake mine for you to see. Marvelous monkey." He grasped the 3 bells in his hand and shook them all together. Just look at the red fire, green smoke, and yellow sand. They poured out together and began at once to engulf the mountain and trees. The great sage also recited a spell and, facing the ground toward the southwest, shouted, "Come, wind." Indeed, a strong gust whipped up the fire, and the fire exploited the power of the wind. In flaming red and massive black, the sky was full of fire and smoke, and the earth full of yellow sand. Scared out of his wits, that Jupiter's rival wanted to flee, but could not find a way out. For in the midst of that kind of fire, how could he possibly escape with his life? Suddenly a loud voice came from midair. "Sun Wukong, I've arrived." As he turned his head upward quickly, Pilgrim saw that it was the Bodhisattva Guanyin. Her left hand was supporting the immaculate vase, while her right hand was sprinkling sweet dew with her willow twig to put out the fire. Pilgrim was so startled that he quickly tucked the bells in his waist, folded his hands before his chest, and bowed low. After the Bodhisattva had sprinkled a few drops of the sweet dew, the smoke and fire all vanished in an instant, and there was not a trace of the yellow sand. Kowtowing, Pilgrim said, I did not know the great compassion had descended to earth, and I have caused offense by not avoiding your sacred presence. May I ask where the Bodhisattva is going? I have come, replied the Bodhisattva, especially to bring this fiend to submission. What was this fiend's origin? Said Pilgrim. That it should necessitate your golden form revealing itself in order to bring him to submission. The Bodhisattva said, he is actually the golden-haired wolf that I ride on. Because the lad who looks after him fell asleep, this cursed beast managed to bite through the iron chains and come here to dispel calamity for the king of the Scarlet Purple Kingdom. On hearing this, Pilgrim quickly bowed and said, the Bodhisattva is twisting the truth. The fiend has mocked the ruler and cheated him of his queen here. He has corrupted the customs and violated the mores. He has, in fact, brought calamity to the ruler. How could you say that he has helped the king to dispel calamity? The Bodhisattva replied, you have no idea that when the deceased king of the Scarlet Purple Kingdom was still on the throne, the present king, then the crown prince, was exceedingly fond of hunting when he was still young. Leading men and horses, mounting hawks and hounds, he once came before the Phoenix Down slope, where two young birds, one male and another female, were perching. These happened to be the offsprings of the Bodhisattva Great King Peacock. When the young prince stretched his bow, he wounded the male peacock, and the female one too, returned to the west with an arrow stuck in her body.